What's up everyone, and welcome to another Bitcoin market update. In these videos you will learn how to use technical analysis to forecast price movements in your favorite cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and others, and also see where we are looking to buy and sell these crypto assets ourselves. So let's get into it here with Bitcoin in the monthly time frame. So on the monthly time frame, we've had a pretty significant drop since the monthly open here, up around 57,775. Subsequently dropped down to about $29,100. If we're looking at this from where the monthly higher low will be set in comparison to our higher low down here from September, which is, we'll draw a line just to show you in comparison. So when you're looking for like trends to emerge, you really want to consider the fact that you want to consider the magnitude of the move. So when you have a move like this that we appreciated about 566%, it's very likely that we will set a higher low somewhere above this pink line. It's unlikely that we'll retrace the entire move without having one bounce, at least one bounce before that point. And so we could have just did that right now because we had a pretty rapid drawdown. This could be the monthly higher low in comparison to this one, where over the next couple months we see another push up higher from here. So if this is the case, what we want to see if we're a bull is we want to see a monthly bull trend continue. So you can see if we zoom in down here, we can see this monthly bull trend right here. We have a low, high, higher low, and then higher high. So now what we want to see is we have our higher high. Now we want to see another higher low, and then we want to see another higher high. Now, considering the magnitude of this drop, this also decreases our likelihood that we'll just go right to a higher high because we've dropped so much already. So since the high, we've already drew down about 55%. So the odds that we'll just go right up from here on the monthly time frame and go for a higher high are not as good as the odds that will come up and form a lower high before coming down again to either form a higher low and form kind of a tightening equilibrium pattern, or which would look something like this, where we come up, form a lower high, come down, form a higher low, and then potentially go up with it after this tightening range breaks out. That's a bullish scenario. The other scenario is we come up, we form a lower high in comparison to this one, and then we go for a lower low. So both of those are kind of the scenarios that I see playing out, because I don't really see the scenario where we just set the low and then we just go up from there. I mean, it is possible. That's the most bullish scenario, but that's unlikely given the magnitude of the drawdown that we've seen. But the monthly closes in 11 days, so we'll see what this candlestick ends up looking like in 11 days. If we end up having a long body in terms of a bear candle here with a short lower wick, that's probably continued downside. If that is coupled with increasing bull volume. Right now we have declining bear volume. So if we see increasing bear volume, that's going to be potentially further downside. So we'll see what we end up getting there in terms of reading those high time frame candles. If we look at the weekly time frame, this support zone that we've been talking about since February is holding up right now. Currently we are operating above that level. You can see we got close to wicking below it, but did not quite wick below it. So this level is still valid in holding, and we're seeing the weekly Ichimoku cloud. We had a Tenkin touch here, so if you're long on this weekly pattern, that's your entry right there. An entry on that Kijun level is already up about 13%, so that's already a pretty good trade so far. In terms of the weekly time frame, we're kind of already seeing the makings of a weekly bear trend here. We need this weekly candle to close back above this low right here, which is at 47K. So we got 3 days and 2 hours to do that. We'll see if we end up getting that. But if we're a bull, we want to see us close back above that low, because then this weekly bear trend is not confirmed, and then we can still see further upside. if we're a bear, we want to see us close below that low, because that will validate the bear trend with a high, low, lower high, and then lower low pattern. So we'll see what we end up getting here in the weekly time frame, but that's what we're seeing there. If we look at the pivots levels, we can see that the R3 pivot up here was our main resistance level that pushed price down. Now we are kind of bouncing off of the R1 pivot, which is pretty confluent with the top of this blue zone, right around 37,800. This R2 level, if we close below that, might end up being a resistance level, so we'll see what price action we get there. But the open of the candle is so close to the R2 that honestly I don't think that I'm really concerned about that. We're really concerned with this weekly low right here back from April 19th. So let's go to the daily time frame and see what we're dealing with here. If we look at the daily time frame, we can see that we're really seeing an increase in bull volume here, which is pretty good for the bulls in terms of this level holding, because we kind of needed that after 5 days of downtrend here. So we're still in a daily bear trend, and even if we come up, we might just be forming a lower high in comparison to this one. So for the bulls to regain confidence here, what they're really going to need to do is they're going to need to change the daily time frame back to the bulls' favor. Now with this long lower wick, that's pretty convincing, and that's what we want to see. So now what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to come up, form probably a lower high, come down, form a higher low somewhere above this one, and then come up and form a higher high. If they do that, then we have an opportunity to go up, and we'll be increasing our confidence level that this is our monthly low being set. But we need that time frame. We need the first things first to change this on these lower term time frames before we can zoom back out to the monthly and the weekly and see if our high time frames are starting to look bullish. This dark blue zone is right now what price is operating above. This is a main support level back here from our bull trend that we had right here, with a low, high, higher low right here, and then higher high. So if we look over here, where you can see yesterday we closed below that, but then today we're probably going to close above it. We have an hour and a half left. We'll see what ends up happening here. Lower time frames, 12-hour. This is a resistance level right here. This is a potential short entry that I was looking at. Now, since we didn't come up and touch it, and we're probably going to come down and form like a higher low, most likely, in comparison to this crazy lower wick here, which is pretty significant. We've had a pretty significant bounce since that point. This is I don't really like shorting the first resistance level off of like a potential bullish trend change, so I'm not really going to take this short, but this is the resistance level that we're looking at. This is from the bear trend right here. Very clear. That's a main resistance level on the 12-hour. If we look at like the 12-hour, let's go back to the daily real quick. Briefly look at the Ichimoku cloud. You can see that the Ichimoku cloud is starting to flip bearish here, and this is not what we want to see if we're a bull. So you see the cloud just flipped bearish. The Tenkan and the Kijun are inside the cloud, so they're not yet outside of it, which would be the most bearish scenario. But they're edging closer as we draw down more. So this is something to be aware of. If we start to push and grind into this light blue level more, these are going to continue to push below this cloud, and once they do, that's a strong indication for a continued downside. So we'll see what we end up getting there with that indicator. We're currently not in trouble yet in terms of the bulls, but the 12-hour Ichimoku cloud is in full bear position ever since we got that up here on the 16th of May. We've had a pretty significant drawdown since that point. Right now, you can see that this is still in the most bearish position. So this is, pretty significant as well, because if we look at the 12-hour, this was valid since back here in November, and that, has been the case up until now, where we just shifted this back. So now this is something to keep in mind, with this being a valid level to keep an eye on. is the Kijun here, the 12-hour Kijun. So if we come up when we hit that level, that's a short entry, and then you could potentially use this as a stop loss where you're putting your stop loss above. So that's kind of what I'm looking for there. If we look at the 4-hour time frame, 4-hour time frame is looking, let's see, we didn't close above that, so we don't have a confirmed bull trend here on the 4-hour time frame. We have a higher low, higher high, so we have the bull pattern, but we only got one candle close above the high right here, and we needed two, and we didn't close above it here or here. So this is not confirmed bull trend just yet, in my opinion, and so we'll see what we end up getting in the coming hours. If the 12-hour closes like this, though, likely we're going to see another 12-hour candlestick that goes below the low of that, which is down here at about 38.2. So that's what I'm kind of looking at right now in terms of making a long-term bullish entry. I am a trend trader, so right now the trend is, I'm okay with missing the exact bottom. I was not knife catching right here, and I'm okay with missing this bounce because I want to catch the most significant and high probability moves in the market, and the high probability moves right now are going to be after we see an established bull trend. If this is to be the bottom for the monthly time frame, we're going to see a trend change on the 4-hour first, and then we'll slowly work our way up to a daily trend change, and then a weekly, and then we're back in business. So that's what we need to start seeing, is those trends changing. That's really all I got for this video, guys. If you like this video, give it a like down below. Subscribe for future educational content around cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. And if you haven't already checked out our beginner technical analysis course, check that out on Leutheria.com. There is also a link for that in the description below, where you can learn all of the different fundamental elements that you need to start generating consistent profit for yourself, trading cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and others. And it is currently 20% off until May 20th. So check it out, and until tomorrow, onward and upward.